Okay, so we're going to do a tool drawing in the style of Dine. We're going to need for this just a pencil. We're going to use that pencil in a few different ways. We need some scissors, we need a rubber, we need some blue tack, and we need a couple of extra pieces of paper. So I've got some scrap paper here. The first thing I need to do is get my tool, I'm going to put it here, and I need to draw a picture of this, but looking straight down at it. So as if this camera is looking at that, just straight down at it. And all I'm going to draw is just the outline, so I'm not going to go into any details, just the very outline of it. And I will speed this bit up. Okay, so I've got my outline with some pliers. The next step before I move on is to cut that out. So we're just going to cut that out with the scissors. Okay, so I've got my tool cut out of paper. And all I need to do now is stick the blue tack on it, and then I can start to actually create the image on the sketchbook. So I'm just putting tiny bits of blue tack all over it. So if I put really big blobs of blue tack, it's not going to lay flat enough on the piece of paper, so I need to avoid putting massive bits, just putting tiny bits, but quite a few tiny bits on there. Okay, and now I'm just going to press it down onto the paper, pushing hard straight down, making sure it's stuck really well, and as I said, it's as flat as possible. Okay, now I'm going to start with my pencil, but I'm not going to start in the sketchbook. I'm going to start on a scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to draw just a grid, probably about 8 by 8 centimeters on there, and I'm going to try and make it as dark as possible with my pencil. So here we go. And you might need to sharpen your pencil a couple of times whilst you're doing this. Here we go, again. Okay, so now there's plenty of graphite down in there, so I'm going to grab my tissue. I'm just going to use the very corner of the tissue, and I'm going to just put my finger there and then roll it into the graphite. Then on here it really loads that up, and I can start to add it to my image of the tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to the paper, rubbing it over the shape, but making sure I don't ruck up the shape edge. So I don't want to go underneath that. I'm going to work from the shape out. So and then reload. And again, just build it up. Every so often you will have to just load up that back with graphite, so I'm just using the pencil again. So once I'm happy there's enough on the tool, I'm just going to add a little bit around the edge, just so there's not a harsh outline around the tool. It's a bit softer going out towards the edge of the pages. Now once I've done that, I can start to actually use my pencil on top, but before I take the shape off, I'm going to add some more, just some shading, and again making sure that I'm not going underneath the shape, so I'm working from on the shape to off the shape here, just adding a bit more shading. Then I'm going to add some more expressive marks with a pencil as well, so I'm going to add some darker lines. have these going all the way across. Okay, now it's time to peel back the paper and have a look what's underneath. You should end up with a fairly clean line, but if not, that's what the rubber's there for, to help clean it back up. And then just use your rubber to clean up any lines. Okay, then after that finally comes the detail of the pencil. So I'm going to give it a bit of a sharpen. And grab my tool again, have a look at some of the details. I'm going to add just a little bit of shading in here to give it a bit more form. So in here, for instance, I'm going to bring that shading in there. Going to give it some more definition around the outside in some of these places. Okay, just finishing up the last couple of bits of detail. When you're done, just stop and just leave it there. That's a Jim Dine inspired image of a tool, and we'll say just a couple of things that might go wrong when you're following this technique is the main thing is if you use too much blue tack. So if you use too much blue tack all over, you're going to end up with your paper sitting far too proud of the sketchbook, and then you're going to get mess underneath there, so you won't end up with a clean image. That's one thing to look out for. Another thing is when you're doing the graphite on here, if you're a bit timid about this and just creating an image that's like this and then trying to use that, you're not going to get very much going on. You're not going to get a very dark impression on your sketchbook. That's not going to make it easy. So make sure you're really giving yourself lots of graphite on the paper to work with when you come to the tissue. And then the final piece of advice is on the cutting out. So if you take as much time as you can with the cutting out, because that cutting out is almost like you're drawing the picture, because everything else that you do is built around that cutout. So just make sure you take your time with that, and that's it. Enjoy yourselves.